Hello, I'm Alex Elliott. Welcome to the Alex Elliott podcast. And today on the show we have Sergio Sciortino. I would say Sergio.
Sergio,
My wife would say Serge.
Sergio,
What do you prefer?
Sergio, Serge,
Sergio.
Sergio. I have a
Nice.
lot of Italian friends, Sergio. They still call me.
So we'll start with where are you from originally?
I was born, raised in Garfield,
Nice.
Bergen County, southern Bergen County.
And is your family originally from the area or you're from somewhere else?
Well, they both came from Italy. Both
Nice.
my parents came from Italy.
Okay.
So I'm first generation.
Which part of Italy?
My dad was born in Sicily, then they moved up to Viterbo, Italy. And then he was 21, he came here. And my mom is from northern Italy, and she came here with her parents and her brother when she was 8.
Hmm.
So she grew up pretty much
Right, right, okay.
here. But it wasn't glamorous. I hear a lot of those stories,
Right.
and it was not glamorous. I don't know if I would do that to my
Yeah,
family
yeah,
and my
yeah.
kids, but
Did
yeah,
did they meet? So you hear all these crazy stories and people like the parents moved from Italy.
yeah.
Did they meet through the Italian network? Was it kind of informal?
No, they just met like food shop, and my mom said they would see each other, and they'd both be out with their parents, and but they met here. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And where'd you go to school? Where'd you go to college?
I grew up in Garfield, went to grammar school there, Catholic grammar school my whole
Nice.
life. And then I went to Premise Catholic for a year, and my friends decided that they were going to public, so I came home and told my mom I'm going to public school, and
Nice.
that was it. And then it was always entrepreneurship, like even as a young kid, like just that mentality and growing up there. So yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
What was your first entrepreneurial endeavor in
Cut
as a
grass.
cut grass? Okay.
I can't even remember how old I was, but I was cutting my godfather's grass next door since a kid, and he would always. I was doing it just to help him at that time, but then
Yeah,
as I
yeah.
got older, he would always, here's 10, here's 20, and then that became a thing. And then in high school, we had a buddy of mine and I had a little landscape business going. We put a few ads, and before we knew it, we were doing a good amount of lawns on the weekends.
Nice. Were these ads in the paper? I
Ads
guess
in the,
in
of
the old
course,
school.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, little black and white ads, couple bucks, but you got calls.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
pretty amazing.
And what was back then when you were doing this sort of entrepreneur work? What was it like? Like was it word of mouth? Would you somebody call
So it
you?
was word of mouth. My friend's brother was in real estate, so that was where I got my first dose of that.
Yeah, yeah.
And he owned a few different properties, and we would take care of his properties, and then little ads. We got a little bigger, and before we knew it, on a Saturday, it was a full day thing,
Hmm.
and it was profitable and it was fun. It was like my first taste of like, all right, this is it. Work for myself and make some money and do something fun at it.
Nice. And what lessons from that era do you think you brought most used to now?
So it's uh, the main thing is your ethic, your work ethic, right? The harder you work, the better you'll be, the more rewarding you'll be.
Hmm.
And it's the satisfaction. I don't know, I get satisfaction when I'm doing a good job for someone, right? And you see them happy and satisfied with your work. It gives you a sense of accomplishment, right? And then the money comes just after that,
Hopefully.
right? Yeah, hopefully. Never got stiffed by anyone,
That's
right?
good.
But
That's good.
actually, when I really think about it, entrepreneurship, I would snow shovel
Hmm.
at grammar school. I mean, I was a young kid, probably third, fourth grade, and we would make a ton of money being exhausted, but we would make a ton of money. And I'll tell you a quick story, which I never forget. It was a huge snowstorm. Me and my friend Sal, we were shoveling this woman's driveway. We went to, we'd ring the bell. Hey, you want to shovel your driveway? Absolutely. We get done, probably an hour, hour and a half, and she hands us 2 bottles of 7 Up. And we looked at each
Was
other
it
and
was it
said,
real sugar back then?
yeah, I guess it was real. It was glass bottles, and we looked. It might have even been Sprite.
So you get the deposit on the
Yeah,
bottles as well? Like,
we got
that's what
5 cents each, and we looked at each other and just kind of laughed, and we didn't say anything to her, and she was happy, and we walked away. But we'll never ever forget that story because that was just. I feel like it's the wedding singer when
Oh
she
yeah.
pays him in meatballs.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. I got paid in
There,
Seven
there are
Up.
many forms of currency.
Yeah.
It's cool. That's nice. So when at that age, did you have an idea of sort of later in life what you wanted to do? Some people do, some people don't. Some
Yeah,
people
I
have
always
the.
wanted to work for myself.
Okay.
I worked a few jobs here and there, but it was never. It was like out of a need, but it wasn't a happy, it wasn't a happy time where when I'm working for myself, I work doubly as hard,
Hmm.
but it just feels way better,
Right, right.
right?
And did you have jobs where you had a boss? So some people have
Yeah.
an early experience with a boss that they loved and some people that they
Um,
didn't love and
yeah, I mean, in even in high school, I had a work study program, and I worked at a health food, small little mom and pop kind of warehouse after school, and that was a fun. I mean, the boss was young.
Hmm.
Um, that was fun. I got my credits and left, but I mean, that was a fun time. Other jobs were had a kind of a corporate job, management before I opened my first official business, the tanning salon,
Hmm.
um, for a short amount of time, and I did not like it. I didn't like the corporate and the structure, and I'd rather just run on my own,
Let me out of
right,
here.
at 100 miles an hour
Yeah.
versus, no, you can't do this, you can only do that, right? But I
Right.
see it better.
Sure.
Let's try it.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
break it. Let's screw up and fix it and make it better, right? That's how you
Just
learn.
kind of
But
iterate
yeah,
and make things
no,
right.
there's only one way. No, not really.
And so did you go to college?
Just 1 year, and then I'm like, enough.
This
Yeah,
walls can't contain
I
me.
couldn't. I
Yeah,
just
yeah. Too
couldn't.
ambitious?
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
leave
I
them.
just wanted to. I had a detail shop, stopped, opened up a detail shop for a few years, detailed
Okay.
cars, retail, and for some auto bodies. And then I found out, okay, too hot in the summer, too cold in the
Mm-hmm.
winter, but the money was good there too, and it was
Mm-hmm.
fun. I was into cars, I loved it. And then I bought the tanning salon, and that was a great run. What I have that bought it in 95 to 2007.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah,
And
so
and what? How did you pick?
I
Did you do a
wanted a
lot of tanning?
business. We were
Yeah.
looking for businesses
Okay.
to buy, and I was young, right? So who's going to give you an opportunity?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't have a lot of money, and I found this place that had been established for 10 years, and I went to look at it with a friend of mine. We were going to go in partners. He ended up backing out, and I said, I think I'm going to move forward with this.
Hmm.
Sat down with the owner, and we worked out a deal where he would hold the bulk of the note,
Hmm.
right? So then I don't even know how I got to that, but I always thought that if someone holds a note, they believe in their product, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Because if they didn't believe in it and they know I can't make the money to pay them back, well, it hurts him and I, right? So when he said I'll hold the note for you, I thought this is amazing. This is how I'm gonna get
Hmm.
my foot in the door. So he held the note, paid off the note, and I was off to a real legit responsible
Sure.
business where we were
Yeah.
open
Yeah.
7 days a week and I had employees
Wow.
and yeah.
So
Um,
I know what a note is. Not everybody knows what that
so
means. Could you just explain
right,
kind
a
of like
note
a?
is like a mortgage, right? So you have your mortgage, which puts a lien on the business or a house,
Mm-hmm.
and the note is the promise to pay.
Right.
So my
Okay.
promise to pay him a certain amount of years, interest, terms, and if I default, he can take the business back.
Got it.
And
So
and all that money that I've given him is gone.
so he's like the bank. He's like a
He's the
bank
bank,
thing basically.
exactly, yeah. And
Interesting.
you can do
Okay.
that with housing, you could do it with cars, you can.
Yeah. Yeah. And some I know like some small business, some of the get rich quick schemes also are always like, oh, you sell the house to the
To the
person and you
person and
hold the
hold the note,
note,
yeah.
right? Kind
So
of thing
they
as
do
well.
that in investment properties too. If someone's had the property for a really long time and they don't want to pay the capital gains all up front when they
Mm-hmm.
sell it, if they hold the note, it gets spread out over time,
Mm.
right? And they're going to make the sale money plus the interest that they're charging you. So really, in essence, they're going to make more money
Right. Right. Right.
versus getting it all up front.
It's interesting you mentioned that in Ted Turner's autobiography. Back in the day when interest rates were like 95%, whatever the
Right,
top interest rates, sorry, top income tax rates. They would all do that. So if I was buying even a big business from you, rather than one big lump payment, they would do the note. And so all these
right.
sort of very wealthy individuals had this network of loans and notes back
Yeah,
and
so
forth amongst each other.
you
You
wouldn't
wouldn't
get
trigger
hit
the
with that
tax thing,
huge
basically.
tax bill right off the
Yeah,
bat.
yeah,
Yeah,
interesting.
you
So,
defer it.
tell me about the tanning salon business. Like, what are your biggest costs?
Tennis,
How do you do it
so
7 days a week? How does that
yeah,
work?
7 days a week. We're open 9 to 9. Um, at the beginning, I was covering a lot of the shifts. I was working weekends as much as possible just to keep the overhead low.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then as time progressed, paid down that note. Then ended up buying all new equipment.
Hmm.
So really, in that business, you can buy and you can lease. But by the time you buy it or lease it, it's almost a wash because you have to replace the equipment because you have to keep up
Mm,
with
right.
right
New
trends and
technology, new
whatnot.
stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Um, very maintenance. Um, it's a very intense maintenance business
Mm-hmm.
because you're constantly cleaning, taking apart the beds. I mean, I guess there's other places I've been to that didn't look like
Little
they were. Yeah,
less diligent
but
about the
we
clean.
take them apart, take all the bulbs out, clean them, vacuum them,
Right.
put them
Okay.
back, constantly monitoring the bulbs to keep them fresh.
Hmm.
So you got
Do they
always results.
do they wear out over time? I
They
guess
do wear
these.
out over time.
Right. So these
Yeah.
are like the older bulbs that they slowly dim. Is that
Yeah,
the?
there are fluorescent tubes,
Okay.
and say they're rated for 1,000, you're changing them at, 8. You wouldn't go to the end because they really drop off
Right, right,
really
okay.
quickly. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I was young, energetic, and it was a really fun
Hmm.
time.
And is
Yeah.
so this is the mid to
Nine,
late
so
90s
I
era?
bought it in 95.
Okay.
So yeah, 95 to 2007 when I
And
sold it.
and back then was it more I guess two questions. How would you get new clients? And then was it a
So,
lot of repeat business? Was it a lot of
so
new
yeah,
business?
when
Or
I bought it, it had been there for 10 years already.
oh,
So it
I'll
was
see
a
an established base.
well-established
Okay.
business. And a ton of repeat clients. Once they come, they would stay with you.
Mm-hmm.
There's some that would come just for a specific vacation or a
Or like a way,
wedding,
yeah, yeah.
or sometimes even if they had, a special occasion that's a day or two, they would come in for a week before. But newspaper advertising,
Hmm.
same thing.
Yeah,
Back to newspaper
yeah,
advertising. There
yeah,
was
yeah.
no internet was just starting because I had dial-up there at the time. And I was even day trading at the time, and it was horrible doing it with dial-up because it would crash on you.
I
Um,
worked at high frequency trading. I can only imagine the latency.
oh my gosh, it was just it used to just drive me crazy. But yeah, it was a great run. It was a lot of fun. Met a lot of people from all walks of life.
Hmm.
You think of tanning salon as just
Sure.
young people,
Yeah.
but it was everyone. I mean, just great people and just different stories, built friendships, and it was yeah, like I said, it was a really good run.
Do you have a favorite customer service story, or even like hiring management story from
I
back then?
mean, I had actually the first customer that walked through the door when the prior owner opened in '85
Hmm.
was still there when I was there.
Wow.
Um, Guy named Larry. Just a true gentleman, just a great when he would come in, he would brighten my day.
Hmm.
He would have aches and pains, but he would tell me just amazing stories about his past life and just great loves and just I mean just a
Is
passionate
that why you
person.
came in to look good for
Yeah,
the
yeah, he
company?
was just he was just a great guy. And my brother worked there for a while there too. And we always knew Larry. Like Larry came in and he said this story and people would come in with, you know, stock tips and talk about their pets and their
It's
vacations
like a
and
hair salon.
it was really yeah, it was like sometimes people would come in and stay like an hour or two. Like we,
Mm.
on a slow day in the middle of the day they'd come in and they become friends with people. Like, "Oh, I'm coming over. Can I get you lunch?"
Hmm.
I knew one of the Shortway girls, Debbie Shortway, she used to come in and just a once again true genuine person. She's like, "Hey, want anything from the barn?"
Hmm.
Amazing roast beef. She had amazing roast beef. She used to bring me. But yeah, you get to know people, and it was like a family. It really was. Even
Sure.
my employees were fantastic. I mean, we'd cover for each other, and but when someone then come in, it's me,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So I'd work 9 to 5,
Hmm.
and then I'd have employees from 5 to 9. But they don't show up, I'm working nine to
Yeah,
nine.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
it happens, or if someone gets sick,
Sure.
right? So yeah, but it was fun. It was definitely fun. I
And
was single too, so it was easy. It's not like I had a family to
sure,
go
sure,
to. I
sure.
can work, 7 days a week, and
Hmm. So then that 95 to
2007.
2007, that's
Yeah.
quite a range economy wise.
Yeah.
So did you see a change in thing? How did it kind of over time?
It was, yeah, there was, I mean, you have your ups and downs, slow season, busy season. Really at the end, right before I sold it, it was still pretty busy. And then when the new owner had it, um, I think when he took it over, it was the first year that they enacted, if I remember correctly, they put sales tax
Hmm.
on tanning, which they
Interesting.
had never
Okay.
had that before. And I believe they even added a luxury tax to it on top of that. And then that's when gas prices went to $3, $4 a
Oh,
gallon. So
right, right, right.
it was
People
a
driving around the stuff in general less,
yeah,
I guess.
it was a bad time. So, um, but from what I hear, I can't name a tanning salon right now in
I
this
haven't
area.
seen
I'm
one in a
sure
while.
there
Yeah.
is one,
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
but at that time it was a huge boom.
Well, plus like spray tanning technology has gotten better, right? And like
Spray
the
tan,
slow,
yeah, I
it's
never I
quicker,
never
kind
got
of the.
into that.
Hmm.
At that time it had just come out. It was unproven, and they were talking about mouth filters and what is contained in that spray, right? Getting
Mm.
into your nose, into your
True, true.
ears, possibly your eyes, your mouth. So I didn't get
Good,
into that.
good and good for you. Kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I never tried it, but
Sure,
I'm
sure,
sure
sure.
that doesn't protect you though against the
True.
sun. Where
Yeah.
if you went in a bed and you got a nice base tan, it would protect you
Right, right, right.
outside, right? And that's where most of the people would come in with their
Hmm.
families, and even psoriasis. A lot of people
That's true.
that did not have health insurance,
Yes.
they can come by me, for
Interesting.
a
Okay.
lot less money than a medical
Right, right, right.
procedure. So,
There's even stories of with psoriasis. I think in Israel, they go to parts of the Dead Sea because it's below sea level, so
mhm.
there's more atmosphere. So you still get the sun, but it's like filtered.
Oh,
So it's a
interesting.
really like
Never
weird
heard of that.
kind of
Wow.
science thing they can do as well. So yeah.
Yeah.
So how did it end? How did you move
So I
on?
ended up selling it. So I remember now, I had gotten my real estate license in 1999,
Okay.
right? So 95, I got that. I'm running it to
Mm-hmm.
2007. 99, my friend and I were talking, the one with the brother that was in real estate,
Mm-hmm.
right? We always talked about real estate. We always liked it. And he says, we should go for our real estate licenses. I says, I am in. Let's,
Done.
like absolutely done. We signed up for Wyckoff School in Wayne at that time. It was
Mm-hmm.
a Hamburg Turnpike. So I'm in Hawthorne, right over the hill.
Yep.
We're going to Wayne,
And we're in Wyckoff right now.
and we're
For
in
those that yeah.
Wyckoff, right? So that was, I think it was 2 or 3 nights a week. So I would leave there like 6, I think it was 6 to 9 or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. Got my real estate license. Unfortunately, he passed away
Mm.
really young.
Sorry to hear that.
And thank you. I ended up getting my license and doing it part time from 99 to 2008.
Hmm.
2008, the worst possible
I was about to say,
time
did
ever to
something
get into
happen?
real estate, ever, right? Everyone's heard of the mortgage meltdown, the
Yeah, yeah.
world meltdown, the
Mm-hmm.
financial crisis. That's when I went full time into real estate,
Nice, nice.
right?
You have good timing.
Oh my, I
I have some
mean,
similar stories.
now I look back at it and I'm like, oh my, like if I would have known,
Yeah.
not knowing, you just went into it, and
Sure, sure, sure.
everyone was like, oh my God, the world's falling apart. And I didn't know any better. I just worked 7 days a week, and I
Mm-hmm.
did open houses. I did stayed in the office morning till night and just absorbed it all and just kept working, 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 and
Mm.
got out of it,
Nice.
right?
Okay.
And yeah,
So what prompted the well, I guess we'll come back to real estate in a second. So when you sold it, was it easy to find a buyer? This
I
was
wasn't
before
even
then?
thinking about it. I was actually talking to another friend of mine, and I was thinking, I said, I really like real estate. I've been doing the tanning salon for a while. I'm kind
Mm-hmm.
of matured out of it.
Sure.
I'm ready to move on. I really like the real estate aspect of it. Um, because I had sold, a couple deals a year, and I had sold a few. I had bought a house, and I said, I think it's time. And he said, oh, I might have someone.
Hmm.
And and I actually ended up knowing them through a friend of a friend, and put the deal together and sold it and went full time into real estate.
Well,
Yeah,
was the deal smooth?
yeah, very smooth. Just this,
I
yeah,
listen to podcasts or things sometimes people are like,
no,
oh, it took
yeah, it's a
forever and
small
this got back
business.
down, kind
No,
of thing like
very
that.
small business. So yeah, it went very smooth. They took over. I stayed, to transition. Um, it was funny enough that year is when I bought my house in Wyckoff too,
Hmm.
and sold the other house.
Oh, nice.
So
Okay.
I really rolled the dice,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Had our first kid. I mean, it was really,
Do it all at the
but
same
it
time.
was tough. I mean, that those first few years were like, oh my gosh, what did I do?
Hmm.
But yeah.
So what tell me about real estate school and getting the license
Okay.
and how did you pick the
So,
different places and
well, at that time you couldn't do it online. Now New Jersey,
hmm.
because of the COVID,
Interesting. Okay.
um, you can do your licensing course online.
Hmm.
So at that time you had to put actual physical hours in.
Right.
And
Okay.
for me, it's better because I learned better one-on-one and
Mm-hmm.
talking and going through scenarios versus just behind a screen. But it was fun. I loved it because it was all new to me and I was interested in it, right? So if I'm interested in it, just like anything else,
You're
you're
gonna
gonna
learn more
give
about
it
it. Yeah.
100% of your
Yeah.
attention. So I worked all day and I was excited to go to school at night. Like that was, and breezed right through it. Took my real estate test first time, state,
Okay.
passed the school exam first time, passed the state exam first time, and I had my license and I was off running. And now I'm like, all
Impressive.
right, oh
Yeah.
shit, now what? Now teach me how to sell real estate because I have no idea what I'm doing.
Are you saying school is not that practical?
They don't teach you how to sell real estate. It's all laws and this and that,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you're like, okay, now I need a mentor and
Now you have to kind of
show
pick
me
it
how to
all.
really do this,
Right. Right.
right?
So
And
what?
there's so when I got my license, I'll show you 99. I went back to my broker and I said, here's a disc and you're gonna dial up and you're gonna have the MLS. And they're like, get out of here. These are the books. I'm like, the books. It's online. It's slow,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah. Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
So
I
think
can
about
copy
that
paste into something
technology,
else.
right?
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
I feel like I'm the old dude, like talking about this, but I was the first one, and I said, look, it's you can go online and see the
Just see
homes
what's there. Yeah. Yeah.
versus the book that they supposedly were. So I never really got into the book, but what I hear is they have to update it. I don't know if it was daily or weekly. I
Hmm.
still don't know because I never actually
You
got
never
into
do it.
that.
So
I
yeah.
was
Yeah.
literally right on the cusp.
Yeah. I guess how would that? So the book is. I'm trying to think back to that time, that era. you'd have a book of listings
of
basically,
listings,
and
and
then
I guess
somebody
you'd
would have to
call the
call.
broker and say, hey, is this available? Like now we have 90 offers and there's 50 showings in a weekend. It would
Yeah,
be a logistical nightmare, but which it still is even on the
yeah.
MLS, right?
Sure.
But with the book, I don't know. I guess it was just that much
All come
slower, and
back and forth
there
and
was no
lots of.
cell phones.
Yeah, that's the other
I
part
wait, did I
that's
have a
kind of
cell phone? 99, yeah,
probably
because when I,
around, yeah, cell phones were in
yeah, because I
college. I
got
had a
mine like
phone
90, the
99.
year I
Yeah.
got my business, like 95, like 96, 97 was my first, which I still had the same number.
Hmm.
But a lot of people started pagers.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you pay, I don't know
You
if you
beep them.
paged to, can I show it? But yeah, that's where it started,
Yeah.
internet, and now it's
That's
on my
that.
phone is,
That's so nuts. So what did you find? Was there anything that's surprising about New Jersey real estate law as you were going through kind of the school and the
so a lot
tests?
of the terms that you learn in school, you just never come across them
Hmm.
really again, right? I mean, the law is one thing that you go through, but terms,
The,
alluvion and riparian rights. Riparian rights you do because I
hmm.
do some stuff at the shore, so that
What?
that comes in
Yes.
riparian
Yeah.
rights.
So what is the requirement rights?
Water rights behind you,
Ah,
and
interesting. Okay.
because there's some homes that you may have water behind you, but you don't have access technically.
Hmm.
And
Interesting.
if
Okay.
I
Oh, because it might
didn't
be
do
a
any
beach or
business
something.
there,
Right. Okay.
I would never come across that, right?
Right. Right. Right.
But that one sticks in my mind because I've heard it and seen it.
It's funny. I used to live in Manhattan, and my aunt and uncle own a contracting business in like rural Pennsylvania, and they came to visit, and so we were looking out the window, and I said, "Oh, see how you can see all the way, 10, 20 blocks out? That's because these this park basically bought the sky rights of all the building around it." And my
That's
my aunt and uncle go, "Wow, we got a real estate license, and they talk about sky rights like who
Yeah,
would ever care
air
about this?"
rights. Yeah,
Like in
that's
Pennsylvania.
a good one. That's another one and that one blew my mind. I'm like,
Mm,
wait a minute. I can buy a house and I don't own the air above me.
yes,
That
yeah,
that shocked everyone in class. I remember that, right? And it was funny because I had a deal where a gentleman was buying a building, um, and the seller was not selling the air rights. The first time
yeah.
I've ever come across that in Bergen County
Okay.
because he had cell phone towers on the
Interesting.
roof,
Yeah, yeah,
and my client said, I want the entire package or I'm not buying it.
yeah.
And the offer that he put on the table was, at that time to me, I was like blown away the
Mm.
number he had spit out there. And the seller said, no, I'm not selling it. So that's how much
Wow, the air
money
rights
he
can
was
be worth.
making on those cell phone and the air
Yeah, yeah.
rights.
We've been in so again, I used to work in trading. I don't know how many people know this, but up on 17,
Mawa?
Mala, yeah, that's one of the data centers for one of their stock exchanges, and there's a huge wireless network that trading firms use to basically talk to their servers
From
in
there.
different places, and that's why the air rights are a big deal for them
Wow.
because they have to have line of sight and you have
Yeah.
to be at certain heights and they're, the
Oh,
curvature
I
of the
didn't know
what's going
that.
on. Yeah,
Okay.
all these things come
Yeah.
into play, which is a side story. They work at the same frequency that microwave ovens work at, and so microwave ovens heat water. So when it's raining, it knocks out all the wireless networks.
How could that be? That's
That's
too
just
easy.
just
It
how it
doesn't
works. So,
sound.
so, so I would call my wife and I could be like, when I used to work in there, I'd be like, oh, is it raining? Oh, because we used to live in Ramsey. I'd be like, is it raining? She's like, how do you know? It's like, oh, I have this $1 billion trading system that
Oh
tells
my
me if
gosh.
it's raining or not
With
raining.
all the technology they have
You,
and that amount of money,
because
you would think that.
because there's a trade-off of like the type of frequency and the distance. Like so, for example, GPS is a completely different frequency because that can actually cut through weather, but there's less bandwidth and more latency. There's a whole nine yards. So
Wow.
I, I,
I'm sure you can
I could
explain
talk
that
about that
in
for hours.
detail.
So,
Yeah,
so
that'll
maybe
be
next
another
episode.
show.
Next episode. So yeah. So I think the other thing that has always kind of boggled having bought real estate in New Jersey is um, in northern New Jersey, it's very typical to have a lawyer as part of the
Yes,
transaction, where in
absolutely.
other states, not at all.
Yes.
And even in southern Jersey, you don't always have a lawyer. And so is there any backstory on
So,
that or how that kind of works? Or
um, it's interesting because the same thing with tenants, right? Typically here, the tenant would pay the fee
hmm,
to rent the place in the
interesting. Okay.
past. Now it's changed. It could be either or, right? It depends on who it is. But typically, north of Woodbridge,
Hmm.
the tenant would pay. South, the landlord would pay.
Oh wow.
And the
Okay.
reason why I know that,
Yeah.
being in real estate and because I'm a landlord in
Hmm.
South Jersey, and the tenant never paid. I paid all the fees.
Wow. Okay.
And when I bought my place down there, they asked me, um, are you using an attorney? I said, of course I'm using an attorney. They said, well, we could just use a title company. So here it's changed up here. Now almost the entire state uses attorneys. I've bought and sold and
Sure.
done
Yeah.
deals in
Yeah.
Monmouth and Ocean. I don't know if it's going further south, but Monmouth and Ocean, everyone uses an attorney.
Mm.
We are closing with title companies now.
Okay.
haven't been to, you're really not closing at the attorney's office. If you're closing at the attorney's office, the title company officer is there, and the
Interesting.
attorney is
Okay.
just there just to be there.
Right. Right.
But
Right.
the title company is the ones conducting the closing and all the documents because all the work is done prior to that.
Interesting.
That day the documents are set, but if something pops up, the attorneys can take care
Sure.
of it.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Interesting. So we'll come back to that because I have some questions about that. You mentioned you come out of school, you pass tests first time, you have to find a mentor. Did you find a mentor?
So,
How did that
all right,
kind
so
of
I
go
went to
down?
Wyckoff School, right? So, right before school's over, they're like, you're amazing, and we want to hire you. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I'm gonna get hired by Wyckoff, right? Well, little did I know that you passed, you're
Yeah,
alive, let's go.
100% acceptance
You know.
rate.
So I went there for a short amount of time, and I had a woman there, a mentor, and just wasn't comfortable. I had interviewed actually a few other places, and remember now I'm still living in Garfield,
Hmm.
right? So there was a place right down the street. I went in there, interviewed, and I worked for him for a good amount of years, and I actually still talk to him.
Oh wow.
And he recently has joined KW,
Oh nice.
and he's living at the shore now,
Oh amazing.
right? So life is
He's
full
living well.
circle. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
he's doing well. But yeah, when I went in there, I said, okay, just teach me how to be successful in this business. And he
Hmm.
was the broker owner, mom and pop,
Hmm.
and he basically just, start to finish. And literally, that was the conversation. Like, okay, I've been in school, I've been, I've worked under a mentor, but now teach me the real deal. How
Hmm.
can I be successful in this? I know the business aspect of it, but teach me real life,
Hmm.
right? Give me like kind of behind the scenes.
Sure.
I'm like that
Yeah,
type
yeah.
of person. Like, let's cut all the bullshit. Let's just go right to the
The
teach
meat.
me the good stuff,
Yeah,
right? The meat
yeah.
and potatoes. Like get rid of the fluff. So, yeah, every day was a learning experience. I still to this day, there's stuff that I don't, you come across, and you're like, wow, after 25 years, I still haven't heard that one,
Yeah.
off the wall kind of stuff. But
I can only imagine that there's even in Bergen County alone, there are, or even in Wyckoff, there's commercial property, there's residential property, there's farms, there's
yeah,
different tax codes for
yeah,
different things that
and
you do, kind of.
different interpretations from people, the way
Hmm.
people negotiate. Some people like negotiate up, down, and upside down, and different cultures. And
Hmm.
it's at the end of the day, it's you're solving someone's real estate problem, whatever that problem is, right? They have to sell, they have to buy, they have to get rid of an estate,
Hmm.
or they're busted at the seams, they're getting divorced, someone passed
Sure.
away. So that's what
Oh,
it is.
even
You're
the
just solving
situations of
someone's
life.
problem,
Right,
really,
right,
and
right.
that's getting down to that. Like, what's the root? What can I do to help you,
Hmm.
right? Because someone may be like, oh, it's just buying a property, but no, why are they buying that
Yep.
property, right? So
And then
once you
even
get the
their schedules and they have to be in
yeah,
by a
where
certain
they're
date or
working,
whatever,
yeah,
school kind of thing
yeah,
as well.
yeah.
So what lessons did you learn back then that you still use, and what lessons that you learned back then have maybe changed because of like technology or
Okay.
the market or so on?
Um, I think it's even from the beginning, like when I talked about cutting lawns and
Hmm.
snow shoveling, it was like doing the right thing and being in the relationship,
Hmm.
right? Treat them great and make them super happy, and you'll be successful,
Sure.
right? Because the word of mouth advertising is
Big
the
time.
best possible that you
Hmm.
can have, right? So if I do great by you, you're going to tell 10 people.
Yep.
If I do bad by you, you're going to tell 100
A
people,
lot better.
right?
Yes,
So
yeah.
that's
In business school, I think they say it's like three, maybe if you do
okay.
well, but 10 if you don't.
And
Like
and I've
it's a
always
much
said
bigger
that,
number
and
for the bad. Yeah.
absolutely, right? Because and you can go on to reviews, and there's usually bad reviews because not many people are like, wow, I had an amazing experience. I'm going to
Sure.
go put a
Yeah,
review.
yeah.
Someone had a bad review, they're going to go put that
They go
review,
right to
right?
the laptop and start
Um,
typing. Yeah.
but yeah, that's one of the lessons. I mean, just do the right thing, win-win. Like that's even a company thing at
Hmm.
KW. Like it's got to be a win-win. And I always say that. I say that a lot actually to, if I'm working with a seller, I'm working with a buyer, I'm like, look, at the end of the day, it's got to be a win-win,
Mm.
right? If you're both happy and everyone walks away, it's a great transaction.
Totally. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's treat people like how you want to be treated and
Hmm.
just do the right thing.
And what has changed the most? Like what's something that back then was like, oh, this is the golden rule, but now maybe is not
Um,
as important anymore.
the business has kind of stayed the same. I mean, we're still buying and selling real estate and still solving people's problems. Is like how we're doing it, right?
Mm.
At that time, it was paper, right?
Hmm.
You'd go into the office, there was stacks of pre-printed contracts, and you'd fill them in,
Hmm.
and then people would have to come in to sign, or you'd meet them to sign, and then you have to fax it and wait for the approval, and then call the agent, go to the office. Did you get the fax? I
Yeah.
mean, it was like it was like watching paint dry,
It's like,
right? But
how
at
do we
that
do
time it was
anything?
like,
Yeah.
oh my God, we have fax machines, right?
Yeah,
Once
yeah,
again, because they were telling me, oh, you used to have to run around. I'm like, no,
yeah.
well, I
Hmm.
can fax it now, and they can sign it, they can fax it back. So I'm already
Yeah.
ahead, right, of
Technology
what they're
whiz, Sergio.
Yeah, I got a floppy disk and I got a fax machine, dial up on
You
my
have
desk phone.
the big phone.
Yeah. So that's one of the things where now it's DocuSign, right?
Hmm.
You're in Aruba on the beach. I'm like, hey, Alex, we got an
Yep.
awesome price on your house. Hey, check your phone,
Oh,
hit
beep
it,
boop,
sign it.
off.
Okay, boom, you're going to be in attorney review. I'll let you
Yeah.
know when you're in the
Wow.
contract, right? I mean, that's like the speed of lightning. And now, as far as marketing, at that time, before internet, they would go on these little magazines and you'd go in
Hmm.
the newspaper, right? You would have uptime where people would be at the desk if you're a new licensee.
Hmm.
I think there's some brokers that still run uptime where you get the Sunday paper and people would call in on a house. Hey, I'm calling at 123 Main Street.
Mm.
Can I see it? Is there an open house? And
Oh,
that
so you,
front person,
uptime is you're at the phone available
yeah,
on
so
call kind of
that
thing.
person would get that lead and get the sale.
Right.
Where
Okay.
now here, it's your listing, your lead, right? They
Hmm.
call in, they text, Facebook, Instagram, whatever it comes to me as the listing agent. So
Interesting.
it's different,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
It's
Because
sorry, go ahead. Go
no,
ahead.
no, what I liked about that, actually, when I came here, they had that, and I thought that was interesting because who can speak about the home
Hmm.
better than the homeowner? Me.
Yeah.
I'm the next best person, right? Versus someone at the front desk may fumble that. Not that
No, I get it. I
not
get it.
everybody's, it can happen. You can have a great experience, but I thought that was like the best thing as far as getting the right information out. But what's changed the most is technology, right? How fast the information is delivered. I mean,
Mm.
I'm out on appointments, I'm showing stuff, and I have clients text me, "Do you see this?" Because they got it already in their inbox.
Oh yeah.
I'm if it's so fast, and when a new listing comes out, if you don't run to it, especially in this market,
Mm.
you're going to lose it. There's 10, 20, 30, 40, 80 offers on properties right now. It's
It's a
unbelievable.
crazy time.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned the uptime. There's a great article about the history of Salino and Barnes, the
Okay.
like
Yeah.
interior attorneys.
I hear the jingle in
Yes,
my
yes,
Celino and
exactly.
Barnes.
And there's a story about they were talking to one of the attorneys, and they said basically back then there was a big room with a bunch of desks and phones, and if you were an attorney, you could go. It was the same basic idea. You would sit in the room, and if somebody called the hotline,
That was your
you would light up, and you could pick it up, and you could pick up as often as you wanted as the attorney, and take as much business as you wanted, and they loved it because it meant that
yeah.
you want to take on 100 cases, you could take on 100
Right.
cases.
You
You want
need
to take on
someone to man the
five.
phones.
Yep, exactly.
And that's what this was. It was, you take 4 to 8, 8, whatever that was, and especially for new agent, that's fantastic, right?
Mm.
Because you don't have a book of business. Um,
So I guess if that's a good question. So the if you are a new agent now, how do you so back then you could do uptime and you would get listings.
right.
Is it harder to be a new agent now that because it's harder to get to the
So
listings, or how does that?
I
Or
would
if
say,
maybe to rephrase it, if I was a brand new agent,
right.
what would you tell me, kind of thing?
Um, so first of all, it's everybody right? Because you're in the relationship business,
Hmm.
right? If someone knows you're ready and they trust you and like you, chances are that they're going to transact
Mm.
business with you. Maybe not brand new because, when you think about a house, maybe
Sure, sure.
the biggest
Let me,
asset
let me
someone
sell my
owns,
my
right?
home I've lived in
Hey,
for
I'm just
20 years.
licensed. Can I sell your $50 million house? Sure, here's the listing. All right, great. Now
Yeah.
what? um, so you start with that, right? You're going to let all your family and friends know. Um, obviously, social media now is
Mm.
tremendous, right? And it's not even social media now, right? Because it's not, as you know, the algorithm changed.
Hmm.
So you're not seeing your friends. You're
Mm.
being served
Yep.
what you're looking at.
Yep.
So even that has changed, right? If I put a listing out, people that know me and like me and we're friends may not even see that house,
Mm.
but other people may see it because they're searching for homes.
Yep.
But yeah, as a new agent, I mean, social media is just incredible. But once again, it comes down to relationships, right?
Hmm.
They can see you there, but then they're going to want to see you or talk to you, at an open house. Open houses are great. You get to
Hmm.
meet people, face to face, and you can kind of see how they interact with other people. Um, I always tell new agents when you're doing an open house, you may have sellers come in and they're eyeing you up. It's like an interview
Hmm.
without even knowing that you're on
Sure.
that interview,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
they want to see how you conduct business.
Sure.
What did you do to market it? How you're talking to people? How you're showing the house? But yeah, as a new agent, it's getting out there and be patient. Be super, super patient. Just continue doing the same things that will eventually get you business because
Hmm.
nothing is instant. It's
Yep.
not like I could put an ad out and I get 3 listings,
Sure.
right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I put an ad out and I'm on Facebook and I run Google ads and I ran an open house and I sponsored an event. And like, oh, there's this, I see him here and I see him there and right?
Hmm.
So it's just being top of mind without kind of
Overwhelming.
in your
Yeah,
face,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Even as you said, like you don't know which one's going to play off. There was
Right.
some TikTok or YouTube short where there's a guy, and he's an older guy, he's talking to like a bunch of, it must be a sales conference or something, and he goes, "What's your issue?" And he goes, "Oh, I have a problem with hearing no and rejection." He goes, "I'm going to reframe rejection for you." He goes, "Okay, what if I told you to make $1 million, you have to hear no 27 times
Let's
exactly?"
go.
The guy's like, "Oh, I want to hear no." They're like, "Hey, you know," kind of thing. So
Right.
I think it's that's important for younger people. So I've
Absolutely.
ended up mentoring young people random ways, and like one of the things I tell them is like keep going. Like
Yeah.
anything you can do to get out there is
Right.
helpful because you never know whose friend's mom,
Yeah.
sister, whatever will be, oh, the person who buys your first house or like
Yeah.
is the hiring manager of your dream job
You're
kind of
there to
thing. So,
help them. And no is not no forever. It may be just no, not right now. There's actually a great book I read years ago. I believe it's Strive for No or Go for No.
mm,
It's a very small book, but that's when you're in sales, right? If once again, people just have a guard. It's like you walking into Best Buy and they're like, "Can I
yep,
help you?" And you're like, "I just walked in. I just want to look at
yeah,
a couple TVs, and then I'm definitely gonna come find
yes,
you."
yeah, yeah,
But it's more like not now,
yep,
right? No, not you. Everyone's like, "No." You walk into a car deal, whatever it is, everyone's like, "No." But if they're there, they want the help. They just don't want it
yep,
right now,
yep.
right?
I
So
my favorite personal story on this is I used to have AT&T, a cell phone service.
I have it.
And this was like this was 20 years ago, so it's different now. But AT&T would call me and say like, "Hey, do you want AT&T?" I was like, "I'm already on AT&T." And they're like, "Well, do you know anybody that wants AT&T?" I was like, "Why do you guys keep calling
Yeah,
me?"
that's
Verizon called me once and they said, "Oh, would you like Verizon?" I said, I'm actually I have AT&T. I'm happy with it." And the guy said, "Okay, well, we'll never call you again." And they never did. So when my AT&T contract expired, guess who I called Verizon.
wow.
So even though I said no at the
Yeah,
time,
yeah, just
later when I want to do whatever, what's another example from? Oh, a buddy of mine was involved in politics. He helped a campaign that they lost that campaign, but then a couple years later they won, and they're like, "Oh, we remember that you helped us out, so we're going to give you a position and et
that's
cetera, right?" So
yeah,
you
it's
never like just because you think the door closed,
right,
it's not closed
right.
forever, right? It might open a different way
And
when
and you
something.
can't be bitter about it. Like people say no, and then telling people off, and I'm like, you never know where that relationship's going to go,
Yep.
who that person knows, or I've had people where it's no, they didn't buy right now, and it's
Hmm.
just because it just didn't work out at that moment
Yep.
in their life, and they referred me to family and friends, and it was such an awesome relationship, and I didn't get mad at them for them saying, it's just because I've been there. I'm the one,
Sure.
I've
Yeah.
said it. Like I said, you
Yeah.
walk in someone, you're like, no, I should be saying not now,
Yeah. Hmm.
right? That's
Yeah.
that's probably the right answer. That maybe from now on, hey, not right now. I'll
Yeah.
come get you,
Yeah. 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 Totally.
But versus the, hands up, no.
Yeah. Yeah. So what uh we're in Wyckoff. You're a real estate agent in Wyckoff. A lot of people want to live in the area. A lot of people pick Wyckoff. What would you tell people that are looking in either Wyckoff specifically or Bergen County? Like it's they're moving from the city or from
Yeah.
Hoboken. It's their first home. What do you wish people knew sort of ahead of time before
I
they
mean,
came?
the best advice first is you have to go and hang out where you think you want to live,
Hmm.
right? Like people tell me, I want to live in Wyckoff. I want to live at the beach. I'm like, okay, go for breakfast,
Hmm.
go for lunch, go for dinners. Go to the town at different times of the day and go check out what it's about, right? What are you looking for, really, right? Are you looking for a commuter town? Are you looking for, more of a family town? Or are you looking for nightlife,
Hmm.
right? So you're basically sitting with a buyer, sitting down doing a buyer kind of consultation. It's just like this, right? Just an
Hmm.
informal, just questions like, why do you want to move here, right?
Hmm.
What are you really looking for? And that's that's the best place to start. And when people say Bergen County, you're starting at 30,000 feet, right? And then they come and we take them around and they're looking at different prices and
Hmm.
styles. And then you come down 10,000 feet. They may say, okay, it's between Wyckoff and Franklin Lakes or Ridgewood and Glen Rock. And then you kind of narrow it down, narrow it down, narrow it down. No one's ever come to me and said, okay, we want Morris, Bergen, Passaic, and Sussex
Right.
for, 500,000. I'm like,
Cape
okay,
May to
great.
Sparta.
Yeah, yeah. All right, great. But now then you got to dig down. Like,
Sure.
why do you want 5 bedrooms? Why do you want 3 bedrooms? How many people in your family? How many people you anticipate you're going to live there? How
Hmm.
long do you think you're going to live there?
Yeah.
I mean, it just goes on and on, right? But you want to dive down so that when you're showing them those homes, it matches the bulk of their criteria.
Hmm.
There's never 100%. We always say if you find 80% of what you're looking for
Hmm.
and the price matches and everything works, then that's something that you would put an offer in. With how competitive the market is, there's a good chance you could lose 3, 5, 10, 15 homes before you land one
Hmm.
because the homes are going significantly over 3%, 5%, 10%
Wow.
over ask. Is not uncommon.
Hmm.
Um, but it's really information. Visit the towns you think you want. Just because your friend said, hey, Wyckoff's a great town, it may not be what you're looking for,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Everyone's got different, that's
Sure.
why every town has got different feel, and it's your perspective of what you think you want,
Yep.
right? Now
Yeah.
go make sure it's what you want.
It's funny you mentioned that when so my wife and I lived in the city, and then we were basically looking in Bergen County, and the original constraint was I wanted to be walking distance to a train station, and she wanted to be within 20 minutes of basically like Wyckoff Mawa border. And it turned out in all of Bergen County, that, I think that was two townhouses. There was like a townhouse in Ramsey or a townhouse in Allendale. So in one sense, it was frustrating because it's like, okay, we have to find a house in this very
Yeah,
small area.
right.
But on the flip side, we had friends who moved from St. Louis, and like he worked somewhere on Long Island, she worked somewhere else, and so there was no constraints. So I think they looked at like 30 different
Oh,
towns,
so
and
that's
it just kind
tough.
of went on. And in a sense,
Yeah,
true creativity comes from constraints, right?
right,
Like there's a little
right,
bit of that going on.
correct.
So
Because or else you're a forever buyer
yes,
and
yes,
you don't have anything to say. Well, you'll just chase homes, right?
yes,
Look at that, look at that, look at that, and you'll never. So at some point you have to say either the agent or the buyer themselves just get exhausted and say, look, we need to sit
enough
back
is enough.
down. Yeah, we need to really zone in. But it's funny you say the trains because people come here and say, okay, I want to commute to the city. And
Mm,
pretty much all the towns around us, besides the Flow District,
yep,
which Oakland, Franklin Lakes, and
yep.
Wyckoff, we have buses that go to the city. We don't have trains. But
Mm,
all around us, like you said, Ramsey, 2 train
hmm.
stations, Allendale, Waldwick, Ridgewood, right? Glen Rock. So um, you can't drive to those stations. And we've
Correct.
had people say, you know what, I really love the town and I'll drive to the station or
Yeah, yeah.
I'll take the bus.
It's fun. I remember when I lived in the city, one of my coworkers lived somewhere in Bergen County, and he used to take the bus, and if like a flake of snow hit the ground, he'd be like, "I'm not coming in today." And I was like, "It's a bus. Like, why not?" And then now that I've taken the bus, and I was thankfully not on the bus back in, was it 2017, 2018, where people were on the bus for like
Oh,
eight
that
hours,
one day,
and
that
I was
October
like,
snowstorm.
now I understand.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It took us like 2.5 hours. We're in Glen Rock for some reason. It was all the four of us, and it was literally like 2.5 hours to get home.
Yeah,
I never knew Wyckoff Ave had hills because I couldn't get up the
yeah,
hill, and an all-wheel drive car, and never in my life of living here, my entire life, have
yeah,
I ever
yeah.
felt or just out of control. I mean, there was cars. It was just crazy. But
What
yeah.
and it, I think the other I grew up in Essex County and I would take the train when I lived there, and I took the train from Ramsey. And in hindsight, I wish I had taken the bus earlier because I always say like I'd rather have a 1 hour stretch on the bus where you sit down, you open your laptop, you read a book, like an hour uninterrupted to me is
Right,
better
uninterrupted,
than
right.
two 20-minute
Too
legs
much.
where it's like,
Yeah,
oh, now I got to pack everything up, get off
yeah.
again. Then going into the city, getting to Secaucus and then on the sort of the transfer is fine.
Sounds exhausting.
Coming out is actually worse because you get on the train that's already full from Hoboken, and now you can't get a seat, et cetera, et
Yeah.
cetera. So and if you live in, sorry, if you work in Midtown, there's buses go across town. So as long as you can get to within 20 minutes of anywhere on 42nd Street,
Right.
like the buses are phenomenal.
Yeah. I have friends that have lived in the Knolls and they walk to the bus right here
Mhm.
on the corner there by Russell, and they were happy with that experience.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it's pretty much what you said, a podcast or catch up on emails or
Sleep or
sleep.
whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
It's like they would call it me time,
Mhm.
right? Where that you have that time every day coming home and going there, and yeah, I guess that's pretty nice. You're not driving, right?
Exactly,
You're
exactly.
totally
Yeah.
relaxed, and it's a more relaxed atmosphere than the train.
It's there's generally there's no center armrest, and one time there was a center armrest, so I put my arm down, and the guy puts his almost like on the airplane,
Oh, and
and
you're
I
like,
was like, how long are we gonna play this armrest chicken? And the answer is the entire ride. Stare straight ahead. I'm not moving, kind of thing. So yeah. So
were
what?
they crowded? I just had a question. Are those
So
is that bus crowded from?
it's interesting you ask. So pre-COVID, for folks that are from Wyckoff, I go to the Wyckoff Christian
Yeah, on the
Church
corner right
pickup,
here. Yeah.
and the commuter lot actually goes all the way around the main parking lot and then
Yes.
into the other parking lot next to it. And before COVID, that would be full. Like the main parking lot was full, the
Right.
overflow lot was full. I think nowadays that lot is, and I go on the days of the week when it's technically more people. It's maybe like a quarter full.
Isn't that amazing?
So
Like, where'd they go?
I think a lot of people still work
Still
from
at
home.
home.
I think a lot of jobs just went remote. Like it was just easier to go to
Yeah.
remote. A lot of companies moved out of New
Where they
York kind of
saw
thing.
that they don't need all this space
They
and
don't
they
need
can
all the
still
space
be as
exactly. Yep,
productive.
yep. So it's it's good, and it's also one of these weird things. I used to take an earlier bus, and then at work we were working out of a different location, and it didn't open as early, so I took like if you take the one bus, it's full, and the next bus 10 minutes later, which goes the exact same route, is like half full.
Oh, so that's the one that
So I was like, oh,
you're picking.
I got my own route.
Absolutely. No, no more,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Share
elbows,
chicken.
chicken.
So what about on the flip side? So I'm a resident of Flow, and I've lived here for 30 years, and I'm looking to sell or move on and go somewhere else. Like
It's like
is
you
advice
won the
different?
lottery.
It's,
It's
it's
yeah,
like
you
you
know
have no
met
mortgage or it's very cheap.
no mortgage, and you've lived great, and there's some people even that have not touched their home at
Mm,
all. Just had one of these towns, home from the 60s, not touched. We went in 100,000 over ask, knocking it down, and we didn't get it.
oh wow.
It was over a million already,
Yeah.
just because that's the area that we live in and it's super desirable.
Hmm.
But yeah, if you're a seller, I mean, if you're a seller and a buyer, it's going to even out, right?
Hmm.
Because you're on that
Sure.
both
Yeah.
sides. The sellers have the upper hand. They've had the upper hand since the beginning of COVID.
Hmm.
Last year, it wasn't as intense, but right now it's the most intense that it's been
Oh, interesting.
in the last 5 years. Yeah,
Right, right.
right now.
And
Inventory's
what do you
coming on,
attribute
and
that to? Is it the
so it's a
seasonal kind
lock-in
of?
effect, right? So
Okay.
anybody that has a 2-3% mortgage
Mm,
is not selling their home,
mm.
right? They refied during COVID.
Yep.
They went from a 5.5 to a 2.6. I went from a 7 to a 5 to a 2.6 during
Wow.
COVID. So those people are not selling their homes.
Hmm.
I get calls and say, look, Serge, we're going to rent our house out. We're going to take the cash flow from it, and
Mm.
that's going to pay our mortgage. And they're still going to have that asset that someone's going to continue to pay it
Oh,
down.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's basically free money. Why would
Yep.
you pay that 2%, 3%, 4% mortgage when you could probably put it in the market?
Hmm.
You could put it anywhere and make more money
You could
than that.
buy
Any,
treasuries,
right,
basically. Yeah, yeah.
and make more money. So
Not
that's
financial advice.
yeah, yeah, absolutely not financial. But anyone would tell you you don't want to get rid of that mortgage.
Mm,
That's number one. Number two is tax implications, right? You have these. If you sell your primary residence and you're married, you could write up to $500,000 gain
mm,
off.
hmm.
Now it's the cost of the home plus all the improvements you put in it. So if
Right.
you have all your receipts, once again, not financial advice, you could write up to 500. But now that $500,000 house that you bought 30 years ago is worth, $1.8 million,
Oh,
dollars,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So you have a big
Capital
tax.
gains. Yep.
So that's what they're talking about. Either, I mean, I've heard two different thoughts out there that they want to make that number much higher than what it's been because it's
Hmm.
not kept up with
Sure.
inflation,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Or eliminate it for your primary residence. So
Mm.
if they eliminate it for your primary residence, it would open up the market somewhat, right? Anything to help the inventory.
We say eliminate no capital gains, basically.
No capital gains,
Wow. Okay.
which would be incredible. But
Yeah.
even up the limit would help tremendously.
Hmm.
But between the mortgage rates and and the tax implications, it's a lock-in. I think the mortgage rates are the number one,
Right.
right?
Okay.
It was the cost of money was so cheap
Hmm.
that you're just not giving that up.
Yep.
You're not selling a 3 to get a 6.5.
On the two stories on the flip side, if you watch Ghostbusters,
Yes.
because for those people that don't know, mortgage rates were very high in the early 80s.
80s, 18,
When they
19,
when they walk
17.
out of the firehouse,
Yeah.
one of the characters goes, "Oh, finally we have a headquarters," and Egon goes, "Yes, we're paying 25% on the
Oh
mortgage."
my
It's like,
gosh.
yeah, like
It's like putting on
the
a credit
the
card.
scale basically,
Can
and
you
then
imagine
yeah,
the
exactly,
amortization
yeah,
schedule on
yeah.
that?
My parents
Yikes.
bought around that time, and my mom remembers that
Yeah.
it was like she was like, "Oh, it was 20% for the mortgage." And I mean, I think prices kind of were
Yeah.
moving kind of high there.
Right. But when my first home, when I bought my first house right after 9/11, and that's a whole nother story
Mm,
that, just by luck, I was 9%.
wow.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I scored 9%. This is awesome. And I was literally so happy that I got nine. So, and I was self-employed, right? So it was a little tougher
Hmm.
at that time.
Yeah, I think
But
that we'll come back to that because I think a lot of people don't realize that self-employing mortgage is very difficult. But sorry, keep going.
yeah, and I remember being so happy at that, just even getting the mortgage and that 9%. And then I refied through the years. I think when I sold it, I was down to like a 3% because I ended up getting an
Mm,
arm. And when I sold it was 3% because it was a fluctuating. And I was on
mm,
the good side of the rates, right? I
right.
bought it
Okay.
when they were high, and they just kept floating down, floating down, floating
Hmm.
down to when I sold in 2008. That's what it was.
The
Uh,
the other story was one of my favorite quotes is it's like a banker's like I follow the 363 plan. It's like 363 plan. I'm like
363.
what is it? He goes I pay savings 3%, I lend money at 6%. I'm on the golf course by 3 p.m.
I like that.
So
It's true, right?
it's
That's
a,
that's
I
that's a
mean,
bank,
they pay
right?
the spread basically. Yeah, yeah.
Right?
So
I'll
it's
pay you 0.05
yeah,
and I'll lend that at 7.
yes,
I mean,
exactly.
that's not a bad spread.
That's a better spread. So uh, many people in Wyckoff, one of the things I love about Wyckoff is that you have a very varied group of people. A lot of people are on W-2s. A lot of people are self-employed. For the folks that have only ever been on W-2, can you talk about the difference between buying a house when you're on a W-2 versus when you're self-employed or
Yeah, so
1099, et
I'm
cetera?
I'm just on the sales side. I don't get on the financial
Sure.
side,
Yeah.
but there's tons of
So
different mortgages.
I
Yeah,
meant from that part.
absolutely.
Yeah.
From there's we have, relationships with different lenders. Um, and there's so many different programs out there and they're constantly changing
Hmm.
and it always gets done. I haven't had anyone not approved for a mortgage that was I couldn't tell you. It's been 20 years,
Yeah. Yeah.
whatnot, right? So I think when people are ready, the first thing that they do before we even start searching is okay, if you're paying in cash, it's
Hmm.
proof of funds, right? Or your mortgage pre-qualification. Because if we
Hmm.
found the perfect house in an hour from now, we couldn't submit an offer without that,
Sure.
right? We would submit it and they'd say, well, we're kicking it to the curb because there's 5 other people in front of you that
Yep.
are cash and pre-qualified.
Yep. Yep.
So it's a conversation with you and the lender. They're going to ask you for tax returns, documents, and it's debt to income,
Hmm.
right? And that's really what there's some programs out there that are 40% of
Hmm.
your income towards housing, and there's different programs out there,
Hmm.
and different programs for self-employed or and you want 30-year fixed, you want 15-year, do you want ARMs?
Hmm.
An ARM is an adjustable rate, so you can have a 1 year fixed and then it adjusts
Hmm.
every year for the next 30 years, or you can have a 5/1, which is it's fixed for 5 years and then it adjusts every year after that.
Hmm.
Better rates
Hmm.
on an adjustable, but if you're on the wrong side of the rates, then if they're increasing, there's a cap, but that cap may be 6%. So you got it
Right.
at 6,
And
they
it,
can go up another 6.
it's a lifetime cap also, right? I think sometimes like
Lifetime,
the
yes, yeah,
average has to work
yeah.
out to some number,
So
right?
yeah,
I think so.
my first investment property was an ARM, and it had a cap on it, and
Hmm.
we've just been on the right side of the rates. It's because
Right.
they've been
Right.
going down and down. The last 2 years they went up, and we just got the letter and it went down.
Oh wow.
We're
Okay.
going back down.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
or if you look at it long term, we made out
Hmm.
versus the other way, even
And
if it was fixed.
is it harder? Is it easier to get a loan on W-2 like versus self? Like some people I know are self-employed say
Um,
they have to have
so there's
lots of
so many
proof of
programs. I
funds
mean,
stuff.
if it's a legit business and it's on your tax return,
Hmm.
whatever's on your tax return, that's what gets reported.
Interesting. Okay.
And there's also programs out there that go by bank statements too.
Hmm.
What's being deposited from that business. So like I said, I'm not on the lender side, but I'm always try to keep up with the programs that are out there and talking to
Hmm.
lenders. But yeah, there's tons of different programs for, every situation is different. But credit plays a big factor,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
You need fairly good credit. And then for investment properties, there's loans that are called DSCR loans,
Hmm.
where instead of you qualifying for the property itself qualifies. There's a
Interesting.
ratio
Okay.
that if the property is making enough money to carry it, plus a certain percentage,
Hmm.
they can get the loan on that property
Oh, okay. Okay. So the
for
income of the
investors.
property can
Yeah,
count.
yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Because I know some people have, to your point, like they'll buy a house and then there are restrictions that from the mortgage company, you can't rent it for a certain amount and they don't
Correct.
count into
Yeah,
future
if
incomes,
right,
et
when
cetera, kind
you're
of
putting in the loan application, you're putting it's either an investment property, a second home,
thing. Hmm.
or primary, right?
Got
So
it.
if you're
Okay.
buying a house at the shore and it's a single family and you want to rent it, but you're putting it as a second home, you really shouldn't be able to do that,
Right, right.
right? Because it's not your second home. So you're going to get better rates.
Hmm.
Um, or it'll say you can't rent it for a year or you can't rent it for
Hmm.
6 months or whatever that is, even your primary residence. But obviously, if you rent it to trouble, it's easier to rent it than
Sure.
default
Yeah,
money,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But yeah, you have to actually tell them what you want to use the
Hmm.
property for. And there's
Interesting.
different percentages. If it's an investment property, you're gonna have to put more down than
Yep.
your
Yeah,
primary
yeah, yeah.
or
Interesting.
second.
I had a friend of mine. He had an investment property, then he got divorced, and then moved into the investment property, and then had to prove that it wasn't investment property because then he lived there and had to go
Yeah,
through
it
the whole
becomes his
910.
primary
Yes.
residence, and
Yeah,
even
yeah.
for tax reasons, that's better. If he lives there for 2 out
Correct.
of the last
Any
5, he can cite as
refinancing.
primary.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Interesting as well.
yeah, I love all that aspect of the market too. I love getting into the weeds with that.
Yeah. So, what are some of your favorite real estate transaction stories?
Oh,
Good, bad,
there's
just
some funny
interesting.
ones
What's that?
out there.
Yeah.
I mean, the most rewarding are the ones where I've had, I know this, the first one comes to mind probably was 2010, 11, I don't know. I had a couple come to me and um, really low budget. I mean, and they're like, we can't find anyone to work with us.
Mm.
We No one sticks with us. We give them their budget, and they're like, forget it, forget it,
Mm.
forget it. And it was husband and wife. They had just been married. They had no kids. Now I still see them. They come to my events. Three kids. We're
Yeah.
talking about going on to the next house.
Nice.
Really great guy, and his wife so sweet. And they call me and ask me about renovations that they did, and they still invite me over. Their budget was really low, and no one would work with them. But yeah, I said, okay, you're gonna get pre-qualified. Um, they must have been pre-qualified at the time, or maybe they weren't. I don't remember. It was so long ago, but they got pre-qualified, and we said, okay, what can you really afford, and what are you comfortable with,
Mm.
right? Because sometimes you can get pre-qualified for a number that you are not comfortable with, right? So
Yes. It always seems very kind of like, here's a number, like you
yeah,
didn't even
well,
talk to me.
yeah, I want you to feel
Yeah.
comfortable and
Yeah.
not what you can pay in 5 years. I want you to be comfortable today with
Yeah.
that number, right? Because you don't know if your salary is going to go up or
Hmm.
everyone banks on that, right? They
Sure.
say, okay, in
Yeah.
5 years I'll
But
make an X.
economy could go
Now,
down, whatever's
make
going.
it
Yeah.
that you can make that payment today between your taxes, your insurance, and still put food on the table.
Hmm.
It's just you two. You can scrounge through this, right? So we looked, and I mean, they were so joy filled when we closed on that house. It was unbelievable. That's one of them that sticks with me. Um, Even sometimes renters that are like, no one's working with me and stuff like that. Sellers that I've walked in and it's taken years for them to actually sell the house
Mm.
because either the house needed a lot of work or they thought that it wasn't ready. And then when you bring them through that process, just the joy, like the weight off of their shoulders, right?
Mm.
Because you can see it when you walk in and you're looking around, you're like, okay, I have the experience, but they
Hmm.
don't know that
Sure.
I have to convey this, that I'm gonna make it as easy as possible for you
Hmm.
and the least amount of stress for you because as a seller that has never gone through it, I mean, I always say when we moved, I know the stress that we were under.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, okay, here's your closing date, get everything out of here. But to a person that's never sold a house, they don't know me, right?
Hmm.
They just see, advertisements or what they see on
Sure.
social and whatnot. So I have to convey that quickly and then keep in touch and paint the picture of the process. Okay, this is what it's going to start like,
Hmm.
and by the end, the stress will be gone, and the joy on their face, when you're done with that transaction is pretty cool.
I can
But
only
there's
imagine
many,
how.
many
Yeah.
that come to mind,
Yeah. Yeah.
that specifics, but and all different price points. It's not like the least expensive was the most choice or the most expensive. And I've had
Hmm.
really expensive ones where the people are just so grateful that you found them a home, right?
Mm.
And some people are just it's transactional,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it's just the way everyone looks at things differently, right?
It's funny. I can never remember her first name. Corcoran. She was on Shark
Oh
Tank. She
yeah,
had the
the
Corcoran
Barbara
girl tape.
Corcoran. Yeah,
Barbara Corcoran.
she's got a great
Yeah.
story.
My mom had a friend who was named a different first name, so I was also named
Okay.
Corcoran, so that's very confusing. And she has a story about being a real estate agent in Manhattan, and she's talking about how motivated sellers are. And she said on the one end you have people that they're looky-loos and they'll spend a year, I want to look at, I'm not
Yeah.
really interested, whatever. And on the flip side, you have people who will call her on like a Thursday and be like, oh, I just got transferred to Manhattan. I work for an investment bank. I want to buy an apartment by Monday
Yeah.
next week, right? And it happens, right? So it really is wild
Yeah.
how quickly people can move, how slowly, et
I'll tell
cetera.
you a quick story. I had a listing in Mawa and I got a call and the guy's like, "Okay, I'm here and I want to buy a house in Mawa." And this was probably 2017,
Hmm.
15. He's like up to like 2 million, 2.5 million, right? So at that time, that's
Yeah.
still a lot of
Yeah.
money,
Yeah.
but at that time was really a lot of
Yep.
money. So I'm like, all right. And he had some specifications. There was only two homes that fit his criteria in
Mm.
this area. I showed him the second home and sold it to him. The easiest
Wow.
transaction ever in my life. The
Yeah.
nicest guy. We still talk. But then you'll have the flip side where you
Mm.
have someone that's, a $400,000 buyer and takes them 2 to 3 years,
Hmm.
but they're looking at the 30,000
Yeah. Yep.
foot level and they're not narrowing down,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Where he knew exactly, I want this town, I want this
Mm.
specific, and this is my budget, and it's cash.
Yeah.
And we're going to close in 2 weeks. Great, let's
Done.
go. And but that it kind of balances, right? So you could have that person that you took around for 2 years versus that one you just sold in a
Mm.
week.
Right. Right.
But it's in every transaction's interesting. You're always learning stuff. I love every aspect of it. The home inspection, the showing, like educating the people on
Mm.
aspects of heating and air conditioning and wind. Some
Sure.
people want a house, but they don't understand what a
What that
house
means.
entails,
Yep.
especially if you're coming from an apartment, I'll give you a quick example. Like we're used to hardwood floors, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they're oak, white oak, red oak, you don't like the color, you can sand them and
Mm-hmm.
redo them. And I explained it to someone, like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, you could just sand them and they were blown away. They were coming from the city. They're used to like laminate and vinyl
Yeah,
floors. They
yeah,
didn't understand that this is real oak and you could
yeah. You could
sand it.
change it.
To
Yeah,
them, it was just like so foreign, and it was like you were going to knock down the house. I'm like, no,
yeah,
this is an easy process. The
yeah,
home's empty, so before
yeah.
you
Mm-hmm.
move in, you sand it. They're going to give you a book of 20 to 100 different colors, and you can
Mm-hmm.
do anything you want. They were like, wow, this is
Yeah,
amazing. And
yeah,
here's the number you can call. You can get
yeah.
an
There's a
estimate.
guy I
Like,
recommend.
yeah, this is, you don't like the walls, you can paint it. A lot of people, even nowadays, they walk in and they're like, I don't like the color. I'm like, well, that's the easiest thing, right?
Yeah,
I don't like, I mean, if you're changing kitchens and bathrooms, you're going to get into some money. That can be done, right? We
yeah,
have
yeah.
other people that walk in and be like, we're going to gut this and no
Sure.
problem. Other people are like, oh, I got to paint this. I'm like, well,
That
you're going to be
takes like
looking
a
at a lot of
weekend.
homes, right?
Yeah,
Until we find the one that you perfect color for you.
exact same color. It's yeah, going back to your 2 points. One you made about like going to the town and checking things out. I tell friends of mine who are younger who are moving to a place two things. One, you need to own a house for a year to really see like, oh, what does a winter look like? What is
Yes.
does the heater work? Like,
Yes.
is it like there's a drafty or the
Yeah.
window's old?
Even
How
before
to
you do renovations, I
even if
tell people,
yes,
live in it for a year.
yes, understand all the bits and pieces because you might think, oh, this doesn't make sense, and then you're like, oh, in the wintertime,
That,
that's why that vent is there or this
yes.
plug is here,
Yeah.
kind of thing. The other is from a good friend of mine who lives down at the beach, and he said, I had no idea how many trades there were until I bought a house, and I joke like, oh,
Yeah, oh
I'm
yeah.
I'm the deck railing guy, you want the deck footing guy, like,
Yeah.
oh, I can't
I
say,
have clients call me all the time. Who do you have for this? My backyard's wet, or I'm getting water in the basement. Oh, my water heater doesn't work, and I'm like, just call me. Like, don't be afraid to call me. If I don't
yeah,
have that person because I don't give out a name if I haven't used them personally, because I've
yes,
been
makes
burned
sense,
before.
yep,
So I'm like, if I don't have one, I'll just tell you I don't have one, and I'll
mm,
and I'll ask a reputable agent that I know
mm,
that I trust, and get you someone. But
yeah,
I'm like, call me. Don't be afraid. Like, use me. Even with renovations, I love when people call me. Like,
yeah,
what do you think? I'm like, I'll give you my input, but you're the one who has to live here, so I don't care
sure,
if you want to paint the walls and the floor pink
yeah,
or purple, but I'll give you my
might
opinion,
affect the
right?
resale.
But for resale, when you call me and I have to sell it,
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what
I
you
have to
really
tell
need.
everybody, you can paint this.
Yeah.
We have a story where I think we had just moved. It was the first year we were there, or maybe second year, and our mulch, like again, we didn't know that mulch wore out. We came from like a townhouse kind of thing, and my wife goes, a landscaper. Oh, I actually want like dark mulch, I think. And in her mind, it was she wanted the mulch that the neighbors had, and so they show up with, I guess, dark regular mulch, but there is an even darker mulch.
Yes.
And she
There's
goes,
so many
she's
shades.
like, I remember his name, Bob. I'm just going Bob, like Bob. I want this much mulch, not that mulch. She goes, oh well, that's a different name mulch. She goes, and he says, you really need to educate yourself on mulch. I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. And to you, you were like,
Yeah,
I thought it was wood chip.
yeah, exactly. How
Isn't
did you
all
know
wood chip
exactly?
the same?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And it's even to the point about a real estate agent who's done a bunch of different things. My sister lives out in California, and now she does more. I don't even know what you would call it. Basically, like she's kind of like an interior decorator consultant. Like she helps people pick the colors that
Okay.
they want. Not everyone knows
Sure.
what they want. And she has a great story about how when she was looking at a house, her real estate agent had been I want to say not an interior decorator, but had done other work related. And so he would say, "Oh, that's really convenient. You have a outlet next to this part of the laundry room. That's really helpful if you're going to iron." And she was phenomenal to have somebody come in and kind of give her a view, particularly if you've never owned a house before,
Sure.
to say like, "Oh, you have kids. Maybe you want a laundry room on
Um,
the kids' floor, right? Kind
yep.
of thing as well." So,
Yep. Very popular.
I guess there are also rules that of what you can and can't say as a realtor, right? I don't
Yeah,
know how much you can
yeah.
do some of that
Well,
stuff.
I never want to say something where I don't know. I'll give you a
Sure.
perfect example. I was in a house today, and they're like, "What would you do?" So I'm like, "Okay, I would take the wall down between the kitchen and the dining room because that's not load bearing." They're like, "How do you know that's not load bearing?" Because I'm like, "We were in the upstairs
Hmm.
attic, and I was just looking at the joists. The joists run the
Oh
same way
yeah.
with the wall, so that's not a load bearing wall." They're like, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah.
And I would do an L shaped. I'd
Hmm.
get rid of the vinyl floors, and I'd bring the hardwood straight through, so it's all one. And now you're
Mm.
open up to the dining room. You can cheat. You can, you know. And like, well, you should be a designer. I'm like, no, it's just experience that I'm in so many
Yep.
homes. When I walk into a house, my mind goes immediately how
Hmm.
I would change. Like if something sticks out to me, I'm like, oh, well, that can go there, and that can, like just within seconds. But
Hmm.
that's just being in it, all
And
all day, all.
is that a is that a skill you acquired? Like, did you always kind of think that way, or did you kind of come to
So I
that
always
just from
liked
where?
houses. Even as a kid, I
Mm.
drew houses all the time. Like,
Oh wow.
yeah,
Okay.
like 5 years old, I
Yeah.
have the same darn house and same style, center hall colonial.
Nice.
Very similar to
It's
actually what I
it-
live
it's
right now.
it's funny. I generally ask people when you were a small boy or a little girl, did you dream of doing this job? And like when I worked at a bank, they were like, no.
I didn't.
It's
I
fascinating.
never. I didn't even know what real estate or something.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
I was interested in housing.
Mm.
Like housing intrigued me. Like I used to always say, like I used to watch This Old House, and I
Yeah.
still do.
That's
My
a
my
phenomenal
son
show.
busts me. He's like, "Oh, you dad, that's your favorite show." I'm like,
Yeah.
I was always into it. Like
Yeah.
it was so educational at that time, but
Mm.
it was cool to me. So when my dad did projects, I was into it. Versus kids nowadays probably don't
They're
want
not
to do
as into it
anything.
different.
But
Yeah.
when we did a project, I'm like, let's go. You know, it was like
Cool.
it was very
Yeah.
intriguing to me. So when I look at a house, I just see it differently.
Mm.
You know, I can walk it through and be like, oh, that could be there, and
It's interesting you say that because if I've learned anything in 20 years of work, it's people have very different brains, right? Like some
yeah,
people can walk in a room and they can be like, oh, this room is 24 feet by 15 feet, and it's like down to
yep,
the foot. We have another friend. He owns a like a salon suites thing, and he was telling me, he said, Alex, this lady, whatever she does, like number one in her field, like top paying, like renter. Uh, she needed like a new bench or desk in her office, and he goes, "Oh, just give me the measurements." She goes, I don't know how to use a measuring tape." And so like they're like people have just very
yeah,
different skills and things that you assume are common knowledge aren't always common
yeah.
knowledge. So it really is wild how that works.
Another thing too, when I'm in a house, I'm like
Sure.
east, west,
Oh yeah.
like people, they're like, how do you know? I'm like, well, look, just I can kind of have a bearing of like,
Yeah.
where the sun is, and because they ask me that all the time,
Yeah.
right? So in this area, especially that we're in it all the time, you
Yes.
can tell
Yeah, yeah.
what's what. But
We even trees. Somebody said the best thing you can do from a heating and cooling
yeah,
perspective
I know
is
where you're going.
having a deciduous, so a tree that
Yep,
loses leaves on
on
the
the
south
south side,
side.
yeah. So in
So
the
keep
winter,
yes,
you're
exactly.
going to get the heat going
Yes.
through the branches versus an evergreen that's going to block, right?
Yeah. So for going back to the renovations and interest rates, so one thing that you were seeing more of recently is people are doing renovations because
Ton of
they're a little more
renovations,
like
yeah,
again
through town,
very common in the early
right? They're not
80s, same
moving.
thing. Yes.
They're
So
not moving. They're doing the renovations.
what advice do you have for people that are thinking about it or want to do it?
Um, you want to work obviously with a great contractor.
Mm,
Start your planning and your permits early because it's going to take you way longer
mm,
than what you anticipate. So I was just with a friend of mine, and I mentioned to his wife, I'm like, weren't you supposed to be in the house like 6 months ago? She's like, yeah, it's a touchy subject. I said, but you've done, and they do homes. I'm like,
yeah.
but you knew that, right?
Yeah.
We all been there. Like it always takes more money and more time than you
Mm,
anticipate. I don't
yep.
care. Even the greatest builders that are out there, same thing. No, it went 6 months over, 3 months over budget.
Or you find
Um,
something that you didn't know about the house.
yeah,
There's a
and you get
pipe they didn't know was there, kind
yes,
of thing.
and
Yeah.
a lot of might as wells. And what a might as well is, they got the wall open, and the contractor's like, well, look at the plumbing in here. These are galvanized pipes in here. Well, I wouldn't close this wall back up without going to PVC or
Yep. Yeah.
plastic
Yeah.
piping. Okay, great. Wires. I mean, it just goes on and on. Well, we have the wall open and your half bath. We could make this a full bath, and well, we
Mm,
might as well do it now since the house is a mess, right? Um, I mean, we had a tree fall, and that might as well went from the basement to making the half bath a full
oh
bath to
yeah.
redoing the kitchen, like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because when the
It's
house is a
dominoes.
mess, yeah. Well, we're here now. It's going to
Yeah.
cost you 5,000, but if you call us back in 2 years, it's going to be 20,000. You're
Yep.
like, all right, I really didn't have the money, but you might as well do it today, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
people be prepared for that because you'll run into that a lot.
I think one we've recently done some renovations, and I think the other thing, you do smaller renovations, you do bigger renovations. There's two parts to this. A, there are different contractors that are good at different things,
hmm
right? So some contractors are great at like, hey, I just want to do the
Framing and
small job,
siding,
right? Some contractors, I want to do a kitchen. Some
yeah,
contractors are better at like, hey, I want to do an addition.
right,
And I think that's first thing. And then
sure,
two, the amount of project management you get involved in as the owner, you might think, oh, this guy is going to do it all, but then you had to basically work with them with your life. Oh, okay, we need to
right,
have the kids out this day because we're putting in fiberglass or something, right? So
right,
I think that's
right,
it. That's another part that people
yeah.
don't kind of always think about.
When we were working on the other house, I'd call them like, okay, where are you? It's oh, I got another job. I'm like, well, we need this. My
Mm.
kids are young and my wife's yelling at me. Like, we
Yeah.
need to get this done. But once again, their timeline and your timeline may be on two
Yeah.
different things. So get that, talk about that up front. Don't expect that they're going to be there 9 to 5 or
Yep.
7 to 5 every day, thinking that's most people think like, oh, they're just gonna bang my job out and move on. No, they probably have 5, 6, 7 jobs going, and they're
There's
gonna
a,
give you a day,
and
and
there's a lot of
when the
sequencing on their
plumber's gonna
side.
be in
Yep.
here, the electrician's gonna be at the other job, and so that's the most important. Speak about the timeline. What's realistic?
Hmm.
If he tells you he's gonna be there every day and he only takes one job at a time, I don't know how realistic. I don't know anyone that works like that
I think
because
that that's a good point because there are some contractors that that's their selling point that
yeah,
they might make less overall, but they're like, I'll be here every day,
yeah,
et cetera. There's some contractors
be in
that
a
are like,
great perfect world. That's
yep. And some of them are jumping around
yeah,
and you get the foreman, et cetera, kind of
and you can
thing. Yeah.
understand that because in the springtime everybody wants their work, right? And
Yep.
these guys, if they didn't grab as many jobs as possible, but some I think overdo it, and then
Hmm.
you see them for a day a week, and your job that could have taken 2 weeks now is taking 3 months.
Hmm.
I had something like that at the shore. It was a small project, and it went way almost the whole summer where
Wow.
it could have been done in a week.
Yeah, yeah.
But oh, I have this, and always emergencies, and I'm like, that's my fault. I really I trusted them, and I
Hmm.
knew them on other projects, but I didn't realize on my project I was going to be, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
oh, it's Serge, like,
Yeah.
no, you got to get it done.
You gotta bring out the Sergio.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite parts of actually, favorite parts to talk about in real estate is, I remember when we were going to get our first house, and someone said to me, "Oh, my friend went through this, and the closing didn't happen because the lawyers got in an argument, kind of thing." And
Oh,
I remember thought like that's
okay.
not true. And then I've gone through some pretty crazy closings. Are
Yeah.
there any kind of interesting, funny closing stories, things
It,
that
it
like
it
that?
would it wouldn't be
What
within
do
the
you
last
wish people
5
knew, kind
years.
of thing?
Yeah, it would have been before that. I've had some contentious closings where they're negotiating, I don't know, small things like a walkthrough, and there was I can't even remember one. I know it was in Paramus, and the two attorneys were talking, and then they left the room, and they'd come back and forth. But I can't remember. I can't pinpoint what it was. It was something very small, and they ended up closing. But the argument over this little item, when I know the house at that time, it was a fixer. It was probably $525,000. I don't know if it was a window or I don't know, whatever it was. It was like very minute. It
Hmm.
was, but they fought over it, and at the end of the day, they came to terms and they walked away. But usually by the time, like I did, like especially now where the attorneys aren't involved, it's a title company.
Hmm.
Everything is
A lot
is
smoother and
hammered out,
easier.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
unless the walkthrough.
Hmm.
Unless there's a problem with the walkthrough. Other than that, it's going to close. Um, but with the walkthrough, you want to make sure that the house is in the same condition as when you saw it. But if you saw it and they were living there, you don't know if the movers piano went through the storm
Yes.
door through
Yeah.
the sliders or you know uh, the movers took the
Scratch
refrigerator that was
something.
supposed to be there,
Yeah, yeah.
or they said okay the washer dryer is included, now the washer dryer is not there.
Yep.
So things like that happen.
Hmm.
Washer dryers, fridge. Yeah, you said you were gonna leave the washer. No, I didn't want it. Right now I need to get rid of it, or leaving paint.
Hmm.
Paint's a big pain in the butt where the seller's thinking, oh, it's going to be so nice for them to have
Oh,
the
yeah.
pink paint from 1980. They're going to want to touch up. And the seller's
Which
like, the
doesn't even
buyer
match because
walks
it's
in. Yeah,
faded.
buyer walks in is like, I don't want that, and I'm going to repaint the whole house anyway.
Yeah.
So I make sure that if I'm on the sale side or the buy side, to make sure that that's
Yes,
talked
all the
about
things are done.
because I've been on the side where I'm just taking paint out for them
Hmm.
and then just go to the, you know,
Yeah, to take it to the right place and
yeah,
dispose of
and,
it
and
correctly.
dispose
Yeah.
of it. But no, knock on wood, my because I think everything gets talked about prior, and
Hmm.
you kind of think of things that may pop up from the past. But yeah, it's pretty smooth. Um, Wiring, that's the difference now from then. Back
Hmm.
then, you would have a cashier's check,
Hmm.
right? It'd say, okay, Alex, here's your $500,000 check. Here you go. Versus you're getting a wire,
Hmm.
and sometimes the wire doesn't go through.
Yep.
If you have a late day closing,
Hmm.
okay, you're selling your house, you signed, I signed as the buyer, you don't have any money in your account, and I want the keys. And you're like, mm-mm,
Yep.
I'm not giving you the keys until I
Hmm.
have the money. So I've had one in town where we were sitting outside in February, and I was on the phone with the title company and the seller
Hmm.
and begging. I'm on the front lawn with my buyers. The moving trucks are here. They're kids. It's freezing.
Hmm.
And they worked it out where they put some money into some accounts
Right.
just
Okay.
to hold.
Yep.
But the money was going to be there. The title
Yeah.
company said,
Yeah.
look, it's just a matter of we close
Just a
super late.
deposit and hold
It's
it. Yeah.
sitting there in space, and you'll get your money tomorrow.
Cyberspace. Is that
Yeah,
what
cyberspace, where does it go, right? Why does it take hours for this
Yeah.
money to be
Yeah.
transferred? And that is something that I always tell people, like, look, don't, if they ask you to do an afternoon close, don't do it. I'd rather do it early in the
Yeah.
day and not on a Friday either, because
Oh
if
yeah,
you don't get
people
the
aren't
keys on a
around.
Friday,
Yeah, yeah.
now you wait till Monday,
Yep.
you're displaced, you have a dog, you have little kids, all
Mhm.
your stuff's in a truck.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's a
Then you
mess.
find a hotel and
Yeah,
it's
so
busy that
I don't
weekend or
like
whatever.
Friday
Yeah.
closings and I don't like late afternoon closings.
Hmm.
So, yeah,
We
that's
one of our houses, the real estate attorney was like a friend of the family and he was like a litigator. So
uh,
every little thing was
everything's
like deals off. Like, for the grass being cut like the day before, deals
yeah.
off kind of thing. But I've also heard of people where it's an older person selling and it's a young family and someone, oh, can I just get in there
Yeah.
and start painting? And they'll be like, oh, yes, but then like, what if the guy falls off the
So
ladder? There's
that's
all kind of stuff like that
and
too.
and we've done that. People have asked me. I'm on the buy side
Mm-hmm.
and and or the sell side, and I said, look, you got to go through the attorneys.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel comfortable giving my buyer or my seller permission, even if we worked it out, because if something happens, right, it's on their insurance, or do they have insurance, and
Mm-hmm.
did they go through the window with a
Yeah.
ladder?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But when you said about grass, I'll tell you, you popped a story came up in my mind. I had a
It's probably
closing.
why.
Yeah, really funny. And once again, after all these years, this was the first time I'd ever heard this.
Yeah.
My listing, I get a call from the agent doing the walkthrough. Everything's great. Yeah, everything's great. There's leaves on the grass. It's November.
Hmm. It's a
The,
fall. That's like
they had a
they
cleanup,
fall from the sky.
and leaves came down, and they're on the grass.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they were. I think they were coming from the city of Hoboken. And I'm like, how am I even gonna call my seller? She was an older woman, so
Mm-hmm.
sweet. And I just called, just do my
Mm-hmm.
job, right? It was her son too, and they're like, yeah, we had a cleanup, and we haven't been there in 4 days, and there's leaves. And I called back, I'm like, look, it's nature. And the
Mm.
attorneys, like, they're just like, we don't even want to hear it, right? And it closed, no problem. But
Yep.
just that was like, wow, it's something new every day. Leaves
Yeah.
on the
Oh
lawn,
yeah.
you know?
The whole deal.
Yeah. Like, so we're not gonna close until the
Yeah.
leaves are gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my
I
people were gone. They had taken, she was moving out of state,
that's
and
the other
it's
thing
like,
that
you know, I,
it's funny. It's funny you mention that because the first time you buy a house, you realize it's a big deal for you, but you don't think about sort of the chain reaction.
yeah,
But then it might be that seller is going to get the money from your wire, and then 2 days later they're closing on the house. They're
correct.
they're downsizing, so they're moving from their family house with five
Right.
bedrooms to a two-bedroom. So if your closing is delayed, and that could trigger a
Oh,
whole
domino
a
effect. Yeah,
drama
it's
for like lots
absolutely.
of
Yeah,
people and like a whole. So it really is a fascinating web of
yeah.
transactions that
So
goes out there.
when that happens, I prep everybody like, look, this has to close because their buyers buy, right? And
Hmm.
it's gonna be a chain reaction. We have people with moving trucks. They're sitting out there, and there's gonna be a
They're
lot of
ready to
pissed
go.
off
Yeah,
people right
lot of
now. So if
diesel
this
running.
doesn't happen,
Yeah.
so let's make this happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, people downsizing, going into a retirement facility.
Mhm.
Um, and a lot of those people I've had been on the lucky side where they purchased prior to.
Hmm.
So they purchased, secured that, and then they were able to,
Oh, they were.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they did it with a home equity line of credit. They had,
Yes.
right? They paid that basically in cash, sold their home, and then the proceeds from that house pays off that equity line of credit. So
Yes.
they were
Yeah.
buying in
Yeah.
cash
Smart.
basically.
Smart.
So
Yeah.
that's, I've told people, I've had people say that they didn't have the means to get a mortgage. And I'm like, no mortgage, equity line, cash,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you're good.
You're good to go.
Yeah, you're borrowing it for such a small amount of time.
Sure. The my other favorite story is that a buddy of mine has, for where he's from, a very common name. And again, for those people who have not bought a house, there's a part of the closing where you say like, "I am not this Alex Elliott."
AKAs, I
Yes,
love
okay.
them.
And normally there's like three. Most people have a couple.
Yeah.
I think he had like 150 pages
Oh
there.
my gosh.
He was like the John Smith or
Yeah.
whatever. He was like, "I'm not this John Smith. I'm not this John Smith kind of thing." So,
It's funny because it's always the woman, right? With the
oh,
maiden names.
interesting.
It's
Oh,
always
yeah,
it's
that makes sense.
AKA,
Yes.
AKA, right?
Yeah.
The guy, there's maybe a couple with a middle name, but it's usually uh the married wife who has the AKAs,
Okay.
and they're like, yes, that's my maiden name, that's my middle
Hmm.
name, right? So, um,
The other,
yeah, 100. That's
the other crazy story was there was the AKAs, and it turned like the guy was married, but the wife did not know that he'd been married before. Like,
oh
what is
no,
this past life you
oh
know what it's
no.
all about? And like the close,
Yeah.
like close
Oh
up. Yeah.
no. Well, there's always that question. Do you have any child support? And they
Uh,
always look at each other.
yeah.
And then the second best question is, when's your wedding anniversary? That one always
Uh,
stumps them. Come on, honey. What is that? You don't know? Uh, 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 uh.
So
It's the craziest thing.
it's funny about the child support. I went camping many, like 10, 15 years ago, and there was a lake, and I thought, oh, I should get a fishing license. And in the state of New Jersey, you cannot get a fishing license if you have unpaid child support. And that's like one of the questions, like, do you
Really?
have unpaid? Because I guess it's they want to block you from doing certain things, so you
So you
can't
just
run
go.
out.
So you're like, okay.
Fish,
Are you
fish
not gonna
illegally?
fish?
No, no, exactly.
You're
So
camping?
I did not have unpaid child support, so I got my fishing license, kind of thing.
Oh
So.
my gosh. Yep.
So yeah.
Wow.
So one thing we talked a lot about the real estate and thing. I know you're a big car guy. I know you go to car
Yes.
shows. How did
Yes.
you get into cars? What's
Um,
your favorite kind of car? Tell me a little bit
Once
about these
again,
car shows
so
you go to.
how what? So I'm into Corvettes, right?
Okay.
I appreciate all cars. I love cars and motorcycles, but specifically Corvettes, and I've had a few Corvettes, and I can pinpoint it to an exact day.
Wow.
It was on 4th of July. My godfather's nephew had a 1977 red Corvette,
Mm.
and I was young. I mean, 77. What was I? I was like under 6. Um, it was red, T-tops off, and he says to my dad, "Hey, we're gonna go get some fireworks." Right? So my dad's young. I jumped in my dad's lap. So we're in a Corvette,
Mm-hmm.
no seatbelts. I'm sitting on his lap. Totally
A different
legal
time.
nowadays, right?
Yeah. Different
six
times.
years old, right? And I remember it was like, yes, you went to Passaic, got
Mm.
fireworks, and came back in this Corvette. And I was like, oh my God, what is this car? Like, I am hooked, obsessed, and literally ever since that day, obsessed with Corvettes.
Wow.
And yeah, I love them. I mean, I built so many relationships with them. I go to car cruises,
What is a car
cars.
cruise?
A car
I didn't know
cruise,
about
so
this
they
when I was
call it a
doing it.
car cruise because you're cruising to the event,
Okay.
and it's so they have one in Wyckoff on
Mm.
Cedar Hill on Wednesdays,
Oh, cool. Okay.
and all different cars, motorcycle trucks will show up
Mm-hmm.
and they park, and you can kind of talk to other people that are there. People bring their kids. It's just like a social event, right? Then I mean, there's one every night of the week from the spring and summer.
Oh, really?
Monday
Okay.
nights, our club does it at Goffle Grill.
Okay.
So
Fine
burgers, hot
establishment. We go
dogs,
there. We go
right?
there often.
Yeah, Mondays. That's Mondays. So yeah, they pop up everywhere. There's one in Oakland on Sundays, and that's like a fundraiser for canines.
Hmm.
Um, and people do it for fundraisers too. And then a lot of the car shows too are fundraisers.
Okay.
They're sponsored by clubs. Like my Corvette Club does a car show on Route 4 in Panera in the summer, and we donate a lot of money to different charities.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's
And if someone was interested in going, do you Google it? Is it on Facebook? What's the best way
car
to?
cruises.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's you can Google car cruise near me, and nowadays with the internet, you pop up. But if they want to locals, they can reach out to me or reach out to you, and you get in contact, and I'll give them one to go every night of the week if they want to in Bergen County. But it's a cool scene because you see everyone's got a car story. It's like houses, right? Almost
Oh,
everyone
yeah.
has a car and has a house,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
everyone's got a memory of an old cool car that their
yeah. Hmm.
uncle or their dad or their grandfather had. And like me, that I can bring you back to that red 77 notchback red
Hmm.
Corvette, and I don't know, I love them.
So what is your favorite one that you've owned? And then what would be your
Okay,
dream Corvette?
so the one I have now is I like it's a Z06, a C5 Z06, and the new C8 Corvette is the first Corvette. So they were all front engine
Hmm.
cars from
Okay.
53 when they first
Hmm.
started, and you had manuals and
Hmm.
automatics. Well, the C8 Corvette that came out in 2020 is the first rear engine Corvette,
Wow. Okay.
better speed,
Yeah.
handling, and they only come in automatic. But now they have the ZR1X, which is over 1,000 horsepower.
Only?
It's 0 to 60 at 2 something. I mean, it's just blistering
Yeah.
speed,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And the handling and the refinement of the car is just incredible. But I love all different years and different models. But the C2 Corvette, which was built from 63 to 67,
Hmm.
is my favorite. But if I had to pick one, it would be this one right here.
You can't see it, but there's a lot of Corvette stuff around there.
This one right here. That's a 1963
Oh,
split
wow.
window, and they call it a split window because they
Yeah.
only made this one year.
Oh, yeah, because there's a little runner
Little
down the
right here,
middle
and
thing.
they
Yeah.
stopped making them, and some guys actually cut them out because they say it was a you couldn't see. So
Uh,
this car is super collectible. That's a
Interesting. Okay.
six-figure car,
Yeah.
which was probably 5 grand in
Hmm.
1963, and if you get it with fuel injection, I mean that car, that's my favorite. Better than a new one, I would take that over any of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then mine, I don't have, yeah, I don't have a picture of mine, but my kids drew a lot of Corvette stuff, and
Oh, yeah. Okay.
so yeah. And I've had three. I've had a 79 4-speed. I had a 92 6-speed. The 92 I used to autocross.
Okay.
At
And
the
what
time
is
we were
autocross?
racing down at the Meadowlands. They had it at English Town. They set up courses and it's timed.
So
And
it's in
you,
like a parking lot with
yeah,
cones?
in
Is that
parking
the
lot and they
okay?
set up a course. And every time they'll change the course.
Mm.
Um, and you go to your class, right? So if you have a Corvette, it's this class. You can go there with a Miata, it's another
Hmm.
class. You could basically bring any car there, um, helmet, proper tires, and whatnot, and have a ton of fun. But the best part is you get to know the limits of your car
Hmm.
in a pretty safe environment,
Yep.
right?
Yep. Yep.
And I did that,
Because if you spin out, you just hit a cone, basically,
yeah.
right? Kind
Even though I've seen some wrecks that hit
of.
like concrete, but
Light poles.
yeah, yeah, exactly, or a curb.
Oh yeah.
But I mean major spinouts. But yeah, it really you can bring your car to the limit in a mostly safe environment and just have a lot of fun.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
a part I saw it through for friends on Facebook. So I would see. I
yeah.
didn't even know these were like things. It's like
Yeah,
it's
so it started. I used to go to Englishtown when I had my 92 at that time, and then I found out they were doing it at the Meadowlands, and obviously the Meadowlands to here was way quicker and
sure. Yeah.
easier. And I did that probably from 99 to 2004, maybe
Mm. Hmm.
2005-ish. Yeah, with my 92 6-speed, that was a lot of fun. But I haven't tried it with this one.
What are you waiting for?
I don't know. I'm getting older. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't want to mess this one up
Yeah, yeah,
too,
that's
you
true.
know?
That's true. I hear.
Yeah.
So, favorite part of living in Wyckoff, or like, what do you like about the
So I
town? Or
like I love the nature aspect. I really do. Like I enjoy like my kids growing up and whatnot. I love all the parks here.
mm,
Like you have Community Park,
mm-hmm,
right? Wyckoff Ave, the Nature Center. Um, my kids grew up going there. We still go there, go for
mm-hmm.
walks. That little we used to call like the baby zoo because
Yeah, 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 yeah,
that was the baby zoo compared
yeah.
to Van Zandt Park, right? Which is the county park. The Rose Garden.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's what I love about it. Trees and nature. Like I'm not a city guy. Like if you brought me to the city, I would just wither. Like I need nature.
Yep.
I love the Saddle River County Park.
Mm-hmm.
It's so close. I go there, bike there, and you're close to everything.
Mm-hmm.
You're close to the mountains. You're
Yep.
close to the beach. People that like the city, you can get in and out of the
Mm-hmm.
city, commute. I mean, way of life here is great, right?
Sure.
That's why we moved here, right?
Yep. Yep.
Great
Yep.
schools, great way of life, restaurants. Everyone's it seems like everyone's from somewhere else, so we all
Mm-hmm.
have that common bond of like,
Yep.
hey, where'd you grow up? Every once in a while there are people that grew up here and are here,
Mm-hmm.
but the bulk, especially in our circle,
There's a lot of
we
people
we
that
all
come in.
come from a different
Yeah.
different part of New Jersey, say, or New York, and it makes it interesting. And but everyone's got that common bond, like
Mm.
we love Wyckoff.
Is there anything you wish you had found out earlier about Wyckoff? That, or maybe
Yeah, I wish I
obviously
would
you
have
only know.
bought instead of buying in Saddlebrook in 2001, I could have bought in Wyckoff, and that would have been a.
Yeah.
Um, but no, I mean, just getting here sooner. But no, I think it's a great town. Um, it still has that small town feel,
Mm-hmm.
even with the business district,
Sure.
right? The shops and whatnot being in one part of town
Mm-hmm.
versus being spread out with Boulder Run and the Business Triangle. I wish they would do more in the Business Triangle with
Mm.
little shops and
Yeah. Oh
whatnot. It's
yeah.
very
Yeah.
walkable. I mean, we're looking even from here, you can kind of see the street lights.
Yep.
But no, I think it's a great town. Schools, um, restaurants. Yeah. What about yourself?
I love it. I always joke. I'll probably say this again on hopefully future episodes. I grew up in Essex County,
Right.
and I went to Rutgers, so I thought Essex County was North Jersey, and then I was
Like
like,
north north.
there's a whole other county, and I remember driving around with my wife and they were like, we're even in Hohokus, and she goes, you're in Hohokus right now. I was like, what? And then I met the mayor of Hohokus. I was like,
Uh,
it's a real place. It's a real town.
Ho
Yeah,
hocus.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. I thought
right.
it was just a sign on the
How'd
highway.
you get that?
Yeah, it's no, a lot of what you said. It's in a great area. You're like I said, you're like you can go skiing at Camp Gaw or
Yeah.
like within 45 minutes. There's Mount Peter. You can go to the beach is not that far away. The city's super easy to get to. There's a there is a downtown and there is a business area like some of the other towns. There's less of a
Mhm.
down or there's only one part of downtown and one set of shops here. You have multiple restaurants, multiple
Yeah.
supermarkets, multiple like coffee
Yeah.
shops, etc. Yeah, and I just love that it's a mix of, and that's partly how this all started. Like that every time I talked to a mom or a dad, they all had some fascinating story, and they don't all work in finance or sales or like
Right. It's all walks of
your
life.
neighbor might be a pilot or a
Yeah,
CFO or own his own tree
exactly.
business or be a
Yep.
real estate agent. So to me, that's just been fascinating. And just the more I talk to people, the more I'm like, wow, what a fascinating group of
Yeah.
people and different walks of life and different backgrounds. And yeah, it's been
The
good.
neighborhoods too are pretty cool, right? So you
Yeah.
have the Knolls, very walkable, right? Walkable to town, ballparks, fireworks, schools. Hartung, same thing. Then you have Sycamac, kind
Mm,
of like quieter on
yes.
the other side of town, right? You're not walking to. I mean, they have maybe a you know little market basket,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
And Abby's Diner,
Sure.
right? But not. It's just more of a quieter, more removed. But it's little micro neighborhoods in the town that's got their own little feel, and but we're all one.
Yep.
That's what's cool about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. This has been great. This is
This has
the first
been
episode.
awesome.
It's amazing to
This has
chat.
been great.
Thank you for the use of your office. For
Uh,
those that we're in Sergio's office. So,
Absolutely.
uh,
Bulletproof, quiet.
yeah. 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 All right. Well, cool. Well, thanks again.
Absolutely. Thank you.